think two wrongs make a right. It can be.
Yes.
The creation of the state of Israel in and of itself was illegitimate.
Your opinion?
Yes.
The argument of proportionality is that Iran themselves have tried to instigate 3 wars against Israel.
Happy being slaves or remain slaves.
Bro, come on. You're trying to like intellectually smart, but you're being disingenuous.
Do you think the UBI can be fair?
The basis of UBI is fairness. Universal basic income means you don't earn more than I do because of human race.
That if the AI is sentient, they want to work for you. It's a sentient being, they want their own life and perspective.
Yes, and them at the level of 90 IQ.
That doesn't make sense. So why are they migrating to people's land? Because there are people over their own land.
It's morally wrong. Nothing has no moral value. It's simple as something that's saying.
Israel has just as much a legitimate claim to the land and to their defense as every other nation state.
Israel is morally justified in its attack of Iran despite the outcry.
Which is that?
Yes.
All right. Good everyone. So I'm going to keep this very conversational, right? Historically, Israel and Iran were friends. Okay, they had a relationship. Then up until 1979, when they had the Iranian War, the revolution. And after the revolution, the Iranian authorities declared Israel as an illegitimate state because there were Arabic outcry within the region. That's after the 6-day war. That's like a few years after the 6-day war. So since then, the Iranian regime, under the clerical authority of the Ayatollah, have repeatedly sponsored militias against the Israeli state. They've repeatedly funded the Hezbollah group in Lebanon during the 2006 Lebanon war. They funded the Palestinian Liberation Authorities for the consistent issues with Israel, and they also funded Hamas, which is the Palestinian parliamentary power or something. Then they funded the Houthis against Saudi Arabia, further causing destabilization in the region. So Iran has been pursuing a nuclear proliferation ability in its claim on Middle Eastern authority and influence, and that's the end goal of that particular policy is to have enough nuclear weapons to obliterate the state of Israel. At that point, the Iranian government declared itself an existential threat to the state of Israel. Now, despite years of diplomatic actions, despite years of sanctions, the Iranian authorities still insisted on developing nuclear weapons and continued its funding of military groups against Israel. So the Israeli government had no decision, especially considering how authorized the Hamas militia was in October 7, 2023. And the Israeli government had no decision, had no other choice or authority on the right whatsoever to attack the nuclear development sites of Iran and then suddenly target the military leaders of the Iranian government. That has been the target of the Israeli government, and that was morally justified.
Okay, so good evening. So when we look at the current Prime Minister of Israel and you look at his history, his aim has always been to oppose governments with, let's say, Arab or Muslim kind of leaders in a way. So if you look at Netanyahu's videos from the past, he once told the US Congress that the only way to end the tensions in the Middle East is to assassinate, to take out, not really assassinate, to take out, what's his name?
And there is a reason for that. The Israeli government has
to take out the government of Iran.
The Israeli government has historically... No, it's fine. One question, please. There's no time. Okay. The Israeli government has reacted historically. I asked the question, is it reactionary or was it proactive? Israeli government's reaction to Arabic hate or Islamic hate was reactionary. We'll come to proportionality, but historically, what Israel has been doing is to nullify the threats. Imagine being subdued in a state, in a geographic region where every other nation around you shares the same religious identity and they have the common purpose of infiltrating you. You have to have a very proactive yet reactionary approach to taking them out. Okay. And that was exactly what Israel did with the right alliances and with the right policies.
Okay, can I ask why John Kennedy was the only US president who mysteriously was assassinated because, okay, let's look at the
How
fact
is that
that,
connected to
wait,
our
no, let's look at the fact that you claim Israel has always been against, Iran's nuclear arms. So, John Kennedy wanted to investigate Israel's own nuclear dissent, and I think the prime minister then was Gurion.
You can't make those correlations in a
Okay,
gap.
let's look at this now. Let's look at this. You say Israel's attack on Iran is justified. Can we talk about proportionality? Iran's attack on Israel was 99% intercepted. Why did Israel retaliate with full
have you heard of the
force?
just war theory?
Yes,
The just war theory says that nations can take actions in war with 4 variables to be contended for. That's legitimacy, proportionality, and some other variables. So Israel has targeted primarily the nuclear development sites. Israel has not targeted civilians in any way. Following the updates, Israel has not attempted to bomb civilian areas. They've only taken out the nuclear development sites. They've taken out military leaders that have been instigating the violence against Israel. So that is proportional considering the existential threat. It's even under proportional considering the existential threat that the Iranian state has replied to Israel with.
Okay. Yeah. I think that you make a very, very important claim at the start, which is that Israel's attack on Iran is preemptive, which is Iran can't develop its own nuclear capacity as a sovereign state, but Israel is presumably afraid that Iran is out for it, and maybe has reasons to be. But you also mentioned October 7th, 2023.
Let me take it from there.
Yeah, no, I get to something. The thing with October 7th is that the Israeli government had sufficient reason to believe that attack was going to happen.
Iran was told repeatedly to stop developing nuclear weapons. As a matter of fact, recently, recently, the Iranian government moved to develop some unquantifiable volumes of uranium within their control and
exactly within the international convention. Iran is allowed to develop its own nuclear capacity.
The United States government
supervision of the US.
The United States government, along with some other organizations, had already initially told Iran to stop developing the weapons beyond the specific capacity because they classified Iran as a military threat to other nations of the world. Do you understand?
Like Russia is.
Exactly. So there had to be a specific level. There has to be a specific level of globalist leaning for you to not be considered as a threat.
Why Israel, the champion of the world, hasn't bombed Russia?
Israel cannot bomb Russia. Because Russia is not an existential threat to the state of Israel.
Yeah,
Russia has not.
We are discussing existential
Russia has not implicitly funded terrorist organizations. You are forgetting the context.
What is the context then?
Iran has repeatedly funded terrorist organizations that attempted to obliterate Israel.
Yeah,
that is the point of the
Israeli state is a terrorist state, killing children and babies in Palestine. It's not a subjective opinion. The Israeli state has bombed more hospitals in Gaza that kill children, claiming that Hamas is
the problem with that logic. The problem with that logic is that you forget. Hold on.
It's empirical.
1948, the Palestinian war held.
Yes.
1981, the first Antifa. 2007, the second Antifa. These were Palestinian infiltrations on Israeli soil. Yet Israel's response was classified as terrorist. These infiltrations were not
Israel is a terrorist.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's what
Okay, so first thing, the creation of the state of Israel in and of itself was illegitimate.
Your opinion?
Yes.
Your opinion.
Like that's if you agree to that, this will solve a lot.
Because I know the history of the Israeli state.
Like this will solve
the 19th century.
This will solve a lot of problems.
I can't agree
Okay, let's agree to disagree on that, right? Israel is not a victim.
I'm not saying that.
That's another thing
I'm
you
not
need
saying
to
that.
know. No, you paint them as a victim.
I'm not saying
And
that.
that's exactly what you did. You say no, calm down.
They are
reactors.
They are reactors.
So what do you call
They
reactors?
don't have to be victims to be reactors.
You claim
understand?
they are victims.
I
Like,
didn't
that's what you say. You say, people want to kill them, people want to oppress them, so it's justified for them to take action and kill people. That's the definition of a victim.
In the worst case scenario, where
That's the definition of a victim, right? Now, Israel, in and of itself, has committed unprecedented crimes against humanity
Your opinion.
in Gaza. Not my opinion, facts.
Okay, continue.
Blocking AIDS, blocking humanitarian aid, blocking killing children in hospitals.
Law of war.
It's not law of war.
Law
It
of
is when it is unprecedented, when it is not necessary, then it is counted
Can I
as
respond?
it is counted as ethnical cleansing.
Can I-
You need to accept that. Now let's
You have just
yeah.
a minute. Okay, so I understand why you feel, because of the disproportionality of force, that you could call Israel's actions genocidal. But the reality is, if you trace the origin of the Israel-Palestinian conflict, right? Israel had a legitimate claim to the ground, biblically accurate religious claim.
But you can't say biblically. You can't say biblically. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, that's fine. But
That doesn't make sense.
Hold on. Good.
Okay.
But the Palestinian territory was occupied by the Ottoman Palestinians, right?
Okay.
And the British colony took over the region and declared it
Yeah.
as a British mandate. They declared that they were in support. That's the Balfour Declaration, 1917. That they were in support of an Israeli state. The colonial masters that had the land declared in support of Israel, and that enabled.
So now you think that colonization is suddenly a good thing?
No. That you don't get
No,
it.
like,
That
like
enabled.
because we think
Let me
that
land.
like
Let me
you
land.
say
Let me
that
land.
the
Let me land.
you
That
say
enabled the Jewish people migrating to the region to settle there, because the government of the land had said, we are ready for you to settle here. Now, over time, the local Arabs were now saying, wow.
so
Israel
also
is
you
not-
okay, thank God you just mentioned local Arabs and that the Jews migrated. So why are they migrating to people's land?
Because they
killing
had-
people over their
No,
own land.
because they
Does
had
that
a
make it-
geopolitical claim. That's what I'm trying to
What's
explain.
the geopolitical,
Arabs
the
there-
biblical
okay,
thing?
good. The Arabs there themselves were also migrants at the 13th and 12th centuries.
Okay.
They were not the original occupants of the land.
Let's
Do you
take this
understand? So
argument.
the-
Let's
so
take
everyone
this
is a migrant.
argument
So the question
from
is, who is the most recent migrant and who has more claim to the land?
thank you.
Yeah, no, one more minute.
Are you too?
Yeah, just one. Just very quick.
Okay.
All right. So my question is more on like the philosophical side, kind of. Do you think two wrongs make a right?
It can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because when you consider the moral equivalence of an action, it has to be within some defined variables. If you attack me with a specific volume of force, the moral equivalent is exactly the same volume of force.
So mutually assured
Two wrongs,
destructions.
yeah, exactly, two wrongs, but evening out morally, that's making it right.
Which means you kind of contradict what you say when it comes to proportionality. Because
No,
everything.
the argument of proportionality is that Iran themselves have tried to instigate 3 wars against Israel, and this is literally Israel's first reaction to Iran. So the proportionality too is that Israel's attack on Iran wasn't against the citizens, nor against the Iranian state, but against their nuclear weapons. So Israel was not fighting against Iran just for the sake of it. Israel was proportional in their decision. They were focusing on the exact threat constituted by Iran, which was their nuclear development.
All right, Eric, do you think that if I constantly target you.
Sorry, we're done with this claim.
So AI is being developed, right? Capitalism means people that have access to resources, capital, develop AI faster and better than others. Now the problem is that AI replaces labor, but does not distribute the reward of labor. Because when OpenAI, for example, produces a value of $10 million, which ideally should have been produced by 10,000 people. 10,000 people don't get paid, but one company gets paid $10 million. So what it means is that there's a disproportional sharing of the revenue, the productivity, and the displacement of the labor force of the job demographic, the labor demographic. So the point of the universal basic income is, in a system where people are going to be out of jobs, is it right at a principal level to have everyone on the same level of income or the same income, irrespective of their contribution to the AIs, and making it easier for you guys? So the argument there is that when you have UBI, whatever issue there exists with AI's increase in productivity but non-increase in distribution of gains, people will still have enough purchasing power to live sustainably. The quality of life will not be affected. There will be too much inequality. There will be too much concentration of power. We won't have issues with like military industrial complexes where the more powerful companies take control of the market and outcompete others and push them out of the market. So the idea here is nation states should have some kind of underpinning welfareist policy that which declares that every single person that is eligible for some kind of labor wage should have some kind of basic income in the age of AI, so that whatever happens to your job, you still have some benefit attached to it.
Yeah, so there's a reason why there's a reason why UBIs basically have not been fully implemented like across states that have tried. And the reason is simple, like budgets are finite, right? So if you agree that budgets are finite, right, which means
And when you say something is imperative, it means like there are actionable goals that are implementable, right? So if I've established that these things are not implementable, like so it means there's a problem solution mismatch, right?
Okay.
So the alternative noun would be, because in your world you just pay people like a base income, right?
Yeah.
For taking their job because AI is inevitable,
Yeah.
right? Don't you think it's going to be better, right? A world where our system of education, for instance, is reimagined to be in tune with the development of artificial intelligence.
Okay, two responses, right? First of all, the argument of implementation being a variable for determining credibility, it's not what I'm contending, right? People have failed to implement universal basic income for several reasons. The finiteness of resources has not stopped the development of very complex resources, has not stopped the implementation of socialist policies in Norway and other Scandinavian regions, right? So that is not a contention. The main issue with implementation of universal basic income is the fact that they've not gotten the right market index, the right economic model to sustainably distribute income from the producing companies to the less producing companies and to people.
It still boils down to the same thing we're saying.
And the reason why that exists, the reason why that exists is because these nations, the people in power, economic power, political power, are not properly incentivized. They don't have the right motivations right now to do that because they believe in the free market, they believe in people getting paid their due wages and all of that. So they don't have any reason whatsoever to give up their control of the market. But in the instance in which AI displaces a lot of people, we are witnessing a society or a reality where a lot of people will be disgruntled, will be disoriented and disillusioned with the current market. People will be out of jobs. You see, 10,000 employable people, only 100 of them are in jobs, earning high salaries, and the rest of them are disillusioned. These guys can easily collectivize and create a union, can create a resistance to these guys. So there is
create a resistance against the government.
That provides an incentive for the government and for the ruling class to attempt to atone for their displacement. Do you understand? So that's why UBI is more feasible right now than it was before. But the other argument for why it's more feasible is the fact that AI increases its productivity more than human labor has ever done. Right? You could create apps within one day, you could automate a lot of your workflow. So companies have more money. OpenAI, Mira Murat started a company 6 months ago, and the company is worth $10 billion. Right? So people literally have more money right now than they had before. But the problem is that the money is being concentrated among the people that have the capacity to develop AI technologies. So the government can, using the same economic redistribution model, use it to redistribute income.
When I say resources are finite, right, doesn't necessarily mean like there's no money within the government. It means within the government there are like things that are competing for the interest of like.
Time. Thank you very much.
Time is up.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah. Next. I thought you were waiting for me. I don't understand.
You run away.
Oh, you see why I said don't go back die around. That's what we were waiting for.
Okay, so why does it have to be how do you say AI that has to be the tipping point for the implementation of UBI? If objectively inequality exists, and then I think that it's untrue. That's why I'm driving at. I think it's untrue that AI, development of AI, is going to
points because already those mass layoffs are already occurring and people aren't reacting to them. The
response is that AI does this job more efficiently. And like those mass layoffs are already occurring. Amazon is already laying off a lot of workers in the US. Apple, Microsoft, these big tech companies are already laying off a lot of workers. I don't think that the collectivization that you're describing, which occurs because of the fact that they preempt that these people might run them over.
Okay, I'll give you a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Right. First, you claim that AI is a tipping point, and
it's not a tipping point.
It's not a tipping point, rather, and that it's untrue that it's going to cause more chaos.
I think it's untrue. It's more subservience of the poor as opposed to the implementation of UBI.
So, are you claiming that there won't be more inequality in the age
There
of
will
AI?
be more inequality. Obviously, more inequality doesn't translate to people reacting to
That's
that
what you're
inequality
saying.
in the way that you
So
describe.
there's a problem with your claim. You're trying to be like intellectually smart, but you are being disingenuous. Because what you're saying is that we have a tool that literally displaces people from work. And we are still claiming that people will be happy to be displaced, or people will not be disillusioned when they are displaced.
Yeah, people
it doesn't. No.
People can be disillusioned.
Let's argue at the
not by
level.
reacting against systems
at the level of the 90 IQ.
Because it's empirically,
Nobody is happy to lose his job to AI.
Yeah.
Now the reality, what you will see is when you have 10,000 people working, 8,000 of which have been displaced, have been laid off because of automation. And are telling me categorically that if you don't find a way for these guys to support themselves, that they will be happy with seeing open AI being valued at $200 billion.
A lot of people were unhappy being slaves but remain slaves.
Oh, bro, come on. You're not
a lot of people were unhappy being slaves but remain
The
slaves.
truth of the matter is there is already some kind of unhappy dissatisfaction with the development of AI. People have already called for political intervention. The EU, for example, was the first to cave in when they created some kind of regulation for the development of AI to prevent the development of sentient
I think the
AI.
approach then is to
Exactly.
AI
So now people are calling for
development.
a different economic model because they know that the more you lay people off and the more there is a skill gap in the development
Before my time runs out,
Okay.
I think that the best reaction that you can get is people campaigning against the development of AI. And that's better than waiting for inequality because people in Bhutan
inequality
are
already
living terrible lives, but are happy.
Inequality already exists here, but when you don't provide opportunities for people to earn, because everyone cannot get into AI at the moment.
That doesn't
The barrier of
react
entry is
that
too
way.
high, and that is the problem.
I think that what we need to do is support AI development,
like probably
not
moving from copyright writer to your regular desktop. It would have been a different thing. AI requires PhD level intellect and qualifications. So you mean that a lot of people will be boxed out and they will not be able to develop the technologies to get their
they will
money.
not react to the state.
They will react.
Influence ABI.
Oh,
So I need to cut it off at its head.
I don't think people understand how powerful the state is.
No, let's hear you. You again. You have just one job.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Start.
Alright. So I think my question here is, so when we have every revolution, we institute a new UBI. That's the question in my mind. So if let's say AI continues to evolve, when the Industrial Revolution came, that sewing machines, all of those came, we found the way to adjust to it and everybody adjusted to it.
Yes.
But imagine if they created a UBI then. What would have happened now that everything has changed?
Okay, good. So it's not a bad thing to consistently change economic models, right? If you've been students of history, economic history, you know that what preceded capitalism was feudalism.
Sure.
And the world adapted to the onset of the capitalist movement, right? And people changed economic models. They accepted migration, they accepted cross-country collaboration, they changed property laws, land laws, and all of those to enable people to compete favorably in the market, to enable governments to create policies and goods that will give them competitive advantage. Those were economic models that were responding to the global climate. Do you understand? They were adjusting. So if you implement UBI right now, and we have something else that requires us to change our economic model, we will happily change it.
Do you think the UBI can be fair? That's an
Can fair. The basis of UBI is fairness. Universal basic income means you don't earn more than I do, even though you work for a company that earns more than I do. That is the basis of the UBI. Maybe I didn't have enough time to explain. The basis of the UBI is if OpenAI is the only company in the United States that makes $10 million. Every single person in the US gets to earn something from that income. Right, so it's not a communist or socialist principle in that the government is still responsible for distributing proportionally as much money as the companies will need to lay off. But the reality is that it's at best ensures that people have a social floor. Everyone might not have the same ceiling, but at best everyone must have the social floor to compete favorably in the market, at least to survive. Do you understand? So that's essentially why it's built on fairness.
If what is pushing human capital for innovation is sort of the kind of grit that you can get as much of the market as possible, do you think people would genuinely be happy to be under UBI, especially if you are more talented and you can get more than whatever UBI is giving you? That's
a very good argument for capitalists and foreign market capitalists that try to wrestle control of the market. But the situation I'm painting, the context I'm painting is that in that world, in the market in which UBI is a necessity, many people won't have the capital nor the ability to even control the market because they're out of jobs and they do not have the ability to scale up into companies that will give them income. The world in which UBI is necessary, the world in which you are required to have a PhD to work for OpenAI, but you don't have a PhD and you can't go to school because you don't have money. So what do you do?
But this doesn't still solve the problem for the majority at the end.
It does, because what UBI does then is that the government can say, you know what, if you are not working for an AI company, you get to have $10,000 per month.
Even
if you're not working. Yes, that's the point of the universal basic income, right? So the idea is, the idea is that it's some kind of welfare buffer for unemployment in the instance in which people have been displaced from their jobs. Do you understand? So it gives you enough money to at least try to do other things.
So it's not sustainable. You agree that it's not sustainable?
The sustainability was the caveat I tried to remove. I wanted to refer to everyone.
Thank you very much.
So that's that for that claim. The final claim for today is The development of sentient AI is morally permissible, even if it ends humanity.
Okay.
Let's move to the first one.
Okay, so all right, guys. So I took this claim so that it will be easy for everyone. And the idea is this: if I say, hold on, if I say that it's a bad thing to build AI, it will look like, well, do you understand? So the idea of sentient AI is that everyone already knows that if you create a technology that thinks like humans, that acts on its own like humans, it might end up killing humanity. You've seen several movies, pop culture, that actually painted this scenario, right? So what I'm now saying is that it is a good thing, right? Whether we end up creating the next Ultron, or the next Vision, or the next human level destruction of AI, or the next Terminator, I don't care. It's a good thing for humanity, and that's essentially, yeah. I want you guys to like compete on that ground. So,
all right,
let's have it.
It says moral.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you define what you like? Can you define sentient AI? What do you term as that?
Sentient AI is the AI that has the ability to think and act without human control or influence. So
Okay.
by itself, like a being.
So like a human.
Continue.
Okay, so your first claim contradicts this one, right? Because you assume that
Don't treat
poverty.
the claims in isolation.
No, I'm sorry about that, but then like you assume that in your world, when you create sentient AI, they want to constantly work for you, right? So what happens
assume
when?
that.
Okay. Now, what happens when you create sentient AI and they will like what it looks like a world of creating like a new minority, right? They want human rights, they want their own like livelihood and everything.
And then that can in turn heavily affect humanity because they're smarter and actively better than us, right?
Okay.
So, do you believe it is justified for that to coexist with humans that are extremely greedy? The existence of human nature is a direct counter to the existence of sentient
Okay,
AI.
that's very smart. Right. So the idea is that even if the AI has the capacity for evil and harm, the AI has the ability to increase our productivity, and humans have the ability to gain control of the market with this new AI too. Is it a good thing for humanity because of human greed?
Assume that if the AI is sentient, they would want to work for you.
I did not assume that.
Now, see,
I did
your
not.
claim on morality, right? Your idea is that when you create sentient AI,
Yeah.
they would want to like improve humanity. That's
They
fine.
might not want to.
See,
That's
yeah,
my
exactly.
point.
They might
That-
want their own
The reason why I
society.
said it's a good thing, is that when everyone is developing towards sentience, everyone will have some kind of control of sentience, right? So if you centralize control of sentience by forcing other people out of the development and allowing only a few to develop towards sentience through laws, it becomes easier for that people for that group to recognize sentience.
It doesn't matter
But
if-
when everyone is collectively developing towards sentience, we cannot develop the technology that cancels out each other.
See,
right?
I'm going to take your best case scenario and assume
Okay.
that the whole world gathers together and develops sentient AI.
Correct.
Right? Even in that scenario, you assume it's a sentient being, meaning they would want their own life and perspective.
Yes,
This
they would
AI
want to
would
have their
create
own
their
self.
own world. You
Correct.
assume that they would want to blend in with humanity
They may
and
not want
benefit
to.
humanity,
They may not
right?
want to.
Yes, but then in turn, what if this AI ends up being the enemy of humanity? Oh, wait.
Good.
What if
That's-
wait, hold
that's
that
why I
thought,
said
hold
it's
that
still
thought,
a
hold that
good
thought.
thing,
See,
yeah?
the thing you need to understand is that human nature explicitly is the problem here, right? Even if AI decides they want peace,
Okay,
humans
so you don't have
always
let me
want war.
respond to you. Okay, that's good. So in instances in which in the event in which we develop the AI that essentially wants to overrule humans, right? And human nature actually tries to take control of this AI, it is still a good thing. The reason why it's a good thing is that we already have a lot of mitigating factors as human. We're a very complex civilization. We have enough technologies to where are you going?
I thought my time is
Oh,
up.
okay, you have enough technologies to actually mitigate the impact, yeah? And then I believe when everyone has already developed the AI to that level, we'll have collective governance to help us manage.
That's an assumption.
That's an assumption.
Alright, this way.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that consciousness is different from conscience.
Correct.
So a machine cannot weep. A machine cannot write things fall apart without emotion that a human
Not
would
yet.
write it with. So there is this loophole in your claim. You say even if it ends humanity, like you still see it as progress.
Yes.
So don't you think that it's against cosmic like progress? Because we would be, let's assume that there are aliens out there, for example. So it will be a scenario where we would be the first species to engineer our own extinction. And what will be the progress in that? What will be the progress in creating a machine that will engineer the end of humanity?
So
and you
this is a
still
deeply
call it
philosophical
progress.
argument. Yeah? Very good. So first of all, the ethical body that determines what is morally permissible to humanity is anthropological. We define it ourselves. And we define morality and ethics based on how adaptable and how sustainable and efficient and safe it is to humans. That's why we call AI unsafe, whereas we call God selectively safe, right? So, but the problem is, if you look away from the human prism of understanding ethics, you realize that when a civilization within a specific environment develop something to actually improve their life all round with a little risk of extinction, that is collective progress. It is a collective progress in that the civilization has demonstrated advanced intellectualism to the point where they've deprioritized their own survival for the productivity gains. Secondly, it's a collective progress in that we've developed enough tools and resources and evolved ourselves to the point where we were able to develop things to augment our own survival, even though it ended up ruining us. But more imperatively, it's a collective progress morally because we were able to look at the framework for determining what is moral. We said it is moral to stay alive, it is immoral to kill ourselves, right? Therefore, if you build something that essentially helps us stay alive, it is moral. But in this instance, when we build something that might end us, we've evolved our moral calibration. We've looked beyond the sustainability of the human race as the only framework for determining morality. So we've changed that objective morality from human survival to, do you understand? So we've looked beyond that role of human survival as the central frame for determining objective morality. So that in itself is a moral evolution that I consider good.
Okay, but my point is, what does it matter if human extinction or human existence rather is at stake? What is the relevance?
It depends on where you look at it from. If you look at the Thanosian school of thought of our principle of Thanos, yeah, if humans eventually become extinct, based on human frameworks, it's not a good thing, right? But then based on how humans have persistently used up Earth's resources, it's a good thing for Earth to heal. So if you want to argue that in the vacuum, if you want to argue that, you have to contextualize based on how it affects humans or based on how it affects the Earth's resources. So if I want to take up my argument on how it affects Earth's resources, then it's a good thing.
What is your position on morality? Are you moral relativist or
I'm a moral relativist.
You believe that
yes,
morality
is relative.
Relative
the
to
framework for determining is context dependent.
So that means that the permission that you're granting to sentient AI is not an objective position.
It's not an objective
position.
Very
Yeah, but more importantly then is that I think that philosophically there's a problem with existence.
Okay.
That it has no moral value.
Existence has no moral value.
Moral value.
You are justifying my claim.
Yeah, I'm not justifying your claim that existence has no moral value because you are creating existence by developing sentient
existence.
No, you're not. You know?
I'm ending existence. The caveat is there, even if it ends humanity.
No,
so if
that is just a presupposition in the argument that can go anyways.
Okay.
What we are certain of is that you are creating consciousness.
Correct.
You are creating sentience.
Correct.
That's what we're certain of.
Correct.
Even if humanity ends by virtue of that AI, it's what the AI projects and does.
Correct.
So it's not something that you can be morally, you can't be morally held accountable for that, as you can be held accountable for directly creating sentience.
Correct.
My claim then is that existence is just terrible. You know, the fact that you have emotions in itself, the fact that you experience pain, the fact that you have to think of the fact that even if you enjoy life, it's also a problem.
All right.
For others as well, because it comes at the expense.
Okay, so you are implicitly validating my claim. I expected you to at least say existence might not have value, but human existence has moral value.
No,
then you defend human, or if you say human existence doesn't have value,
yeah,
you are nihilistic here.
Yeah.
And to the degree,
no, I'm not nihilistic.
Hold on, your point
because we didn't cause our own existence.
Wait, the point of your claim of the lack of moral value of our existence is essentially that we are creating sessions, therefore we are creating value.
Yeah.
We are creating, do you understand? Yeah. So what the reason why I'm ready to risk human existence and human extinction for the development of AI is because I believe that human existence lacks moral value.
No.
But it does. Because
human existence lacks moral value,
validation of what you literally said.
Are you permitting the creation of sentient AI?
Because human existence lacks value, right? Therefore, we have to revisit what defines the main moral framework for developing intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I now said, let's move morality from existence to intellect, to the development of intellect. What kind of intellect?
So like little intelligence also.
Exactly.
Has is morally wrong. Not that it has no moral value. I'm not saying that it has no moral value.
So
I'm saying that it is wrong.
The catch here then is, if we are able to get, I said it in my previous response, if we are able to create intelligence to the point where it ends us, we've evolved as a species that initially recognizing our existence, we were able to create a moral framework that deprioritize our existence. That's the highest level of moral.
Our existence is immoral.
It's not.
50 seconds.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
All right. So I believe that the creation of states is immoral, right? Because it gave birth to classism itself. And I think what this
creation of states?
Yeah, the creation of states. But let's
what do you mean by
I'm driving to a point, relax. Creation of states, creation of boundaries, creation of borders is immoral intrinsically.
Okay.
And I think that with the creation of AI being sentient, I think it would empower more states over the others, which will further create a gap between humans, and I think that's intrinsically immoral.
But
the fact that contributes more to classism in itself makes it immoral.
Now, the reason why it is also good for more states to have more power to be classist is that the more the states create AI to the point where they become unequal or stronger than other states or more developed, the more humans as a collective create frameworks to antagonize that. But if you create AI to the point where
when you have frameworks to antagonize it, it doesn't equate to we can.
Okay, so the issue with Israel here is that I understand why everyone feels I understand why everyone feels emotionally attached to Israel, but the reality is that Israel has just as much a legitimate claim to the land and to their defense as every other nation state. And the point of Israel's claim is that at the point of colonization, the governing authority authorized them to lay claim to that land. So it became a necessity for them, therefore, to institute and execute that authorization. So if you start fighting them and you eventually start threatening their existence, every other person is going to respond, just like Israel is responding. The issue of UBI is that it's in everyone's best interest to have with some kind of income, to have some kind of distribution of income. Because AI is improving productivity, but AI is not distributing the rewards. So if we don't do that, we'll come to the point where everyone is going to be out of jobs. Only a few companies, we are going to be replaced, we are going to be automated. And the risk with this is that we are going to have robots essentially ruling our states. And people will not have the capacity to even revolutionize, to create military resistance because they don't have income and all of that. So it's a risk that we are not willing to take by providing some kind of purchasing power for everyone. But the issue with sentient AI is that I just wanted us to have some kind of engagement because I was literally risking human existence. And I understand why it might not sound morally plausible, but the idea is I wanted us to argue on the level of whether we have a simple moral framework, if it's enough to determine what happens and what governs AI development along the line. So I'm not in support of human extinction, but I feel that if everyone is allowed to constantly work towards sentient AI, we are going to even out. We are going to even out. If we concentrate that ability within one power, it becomes weaponizable. But if we allow everyone to build towards it, it becomes like a free market of where competition will now determine demand and supply, and risks will be averted. So that's essentially the point.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I really appreciate you.